Good morning, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you to our latest webinar, Mobile Marketing Attribution Best Practices. My name is Mike Polner. I'm a Product Marketing Manager here at AppsLar. I'm so glad you'll be joining us to learn some best practices today. Before getting started, though, I'd like to go over a few ways you can participate in today's event. You have joined the presentation listening to your computer speaker system by default. If you would prefer to use the telephone, just select Use Telephone in the audio section of the control panel on the right, and the dial-in information will be displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions by typing your questions in the text box on the right as well. Feel free to submit questions at any time during the session. I will collect these and respond to them at the end of the session. Shortly after this webinar, we're planning on sending out an email containing these slides and the recording of the webinar as well. Finally, we will have a short survey at the end, so please take 1 minute to give us feedback on how we can improve next time. Now, let's dive into our content and start learning some best practices. The agenda for today is the following. First, we will discuss what mobile marketing attribution is and why you should care about it. Next, we will look at some pain points that we're seeing and hearing in the market today and examine each of them in detail. We'll also discuss some best practices in order to solve these pain points and become better marketers. Finally, we will make sure you leave this webinar with actionable insights, and we will talk about key takeaways and next steps. So, this is the mobile marketing problem. Forrester Research recently conducted a study to identify what the biggest challenges in mobile marketing are. They found that 42% of mobile marketers identified lack of measurement and ROI as the biggest challenge to mobile marketing overall. This is a problem we also see very frequently in the industry. If marketers are unable to understand exactly how their campaigns are performing and which campaigns are successful, it will be difficult to justify moving additional dollars into mobile advertising. Fortunately, we're getting very close to understanding how the money we spend on marketing is coming back to our business in terms of revenue generated by an acquired user or by a marketing campaign. Part of that is due to the emergence of marketing attribution analytics. So, what are marketing attribution analytics? Well, first off, marketing attribution analytics are sometimes known by a different name like user acquisition tracking, mobile app tracking, or campaign ROI tracking, for example. They're a set of analytics reports that measure key performance metrics like revenue or ARPU, or average revenue per user, by campaign source, and help marketers determine which campaigns are generating the most revenue and the highest return on investment. With this tool, marketers are able to accurately attribute one user to one download, and that download to the appropriate traffic source that generated it. Attribution analytics can work with a number of different marketing campaign sources, such as in-app advertising, email, social media, or mobile web. For example, when a marketer is launching an app, they may be running many different acquisition campaigns. They may be driving downloads of their app using in-app advertising. They might be sending out an email blast campaign, and they might be using social media to promote their new application. In order to track each of these campaign sources, a marketer would use an attribution solution to generate a referral tracking tag, which is just a link with a piece of code identifying it, which would then get passed over to the ad network they're running on, or placed in an email or social media campaign. If the networks are pre-integrated, you do not need to create a new tracking tag. The attribution solution would then identify which users come in from which traffic source and track metrics like clicks, installs, and revenue that those users have generated. This tool helps solve the mobile measurement problem we just discussed and lets marketers track revenue and ROI of each of their marketing campaigns to see which are most effective for them. As a marketer, having this information also means that you're able to optimize your campaigns more effectively as well. If you are running a campaign that is ineffective in terms of driving revenue compared to other campaigns, you can quickly identify that and stop running it. Instead, you can reallocate your marketing dollars to the campaigns that are most effective, driving users that will generate more revenue than the cost to acquire them. We will go into this more in depth in some upcoming pain points and best practices. Another key benefit of marketing attribution analytics is that it helps marketers avoid being charged double for only one conversion. This is a very significant problem in our industry and one many marketers may not be aware of. This is a scenario where multiple ad networks claim credit for the same conversions, wasting millions of dollars for marketers worldwide. Finally, in terms of how an attribution solution works, they use a unique identifier to attribute one user to one conversion. This is typically done using a last-click attribution model inside a specific window of time. This unique identifier used to be the UDID, which Apple has since deprecated in favor of the new identifier for advertising. If you're interested in learning more about Apple's deprecation of the UDID and the emergence of IDFA, AppsLar has lots of great blog posts on the topic, so feel free to check those out. Now, we're going to discuss a few pain points that marketers face and identify key ways to solve them. The first pain point mobile app marketers have is that mobile app marketing dollars are wasted due to discrepancies in attribution. An example of this is where multiple ad networks will claim credit for the same user conversion. This is a major problem in our industry. A 2012 study from Collective estimated that up to 20% of ad spend is wasted due to misleading measurement systems and poor attribution models. Recently, the IAB published their year-end report on the state of advertising that said mobile advertising reached $3.4 billion in 2012. Based on these numbers, that means that more than $500 million was wasted due to a lack of proper attribution. This is a devastating scenario for marketers and a significant hurdle for the industry to have to overcome together. Let's look at the primary cause of these discrepancies. In this scenario, we have a user using an application when he is served an in-app advertisement. This ad is served by ad network A. The user finds the content interesting and relevant and clicks the ad, where he's then taken to the Apple Store. The user then looks at his app, sees the download is too large to download over his 3G phone, so he decides actually not to download the app. Now, in this scenario, even though the user hasn't converted, the network has registered a click from that user, but has not seen a conversion yet. If a marketer was going to be paying on a cost per install basis, they should not be charged anything. Now, let's look at the same scenario almost 24 hours later. The same user is inside an application when he receives another ad from the same game he saw yesterday. This time, the ad is being served from ad network A, or ad network B, Again, the user decides to click on the ad where he is brought to the Apple Store, but this time he's connected to a Wi-Fi network and decides to download the application. In this scenario, ad network B accurately sees the click and sees a user download the application, so they register a conversion. The marketer would get charged for a download, which has occurred. This is where the discrepancy arises. In the first scenario, ad network A only saw a user click their ad, and then they only saw a user download the same application they were serving an ad for. Meanwhile, ad network B only sees a user click the ad they served. Then, they see a user download the application they just advertised. So, since each network can only see what they served, they can't see that the user did not convert based off the ad served by network A, but rather converted after clicking on network B's ad. So in this case, two networks both see a user click on their ad, and both networks see a conversion occur, except there was only one actual conversion here, and only one user downloaded one application. What ends up happening in this case is that the marketer gets charged 2 times for only one conversion. This is why this is a very significant problem in the industry, and marketers everywhere may be getting charged double for conversions that didn't end up occurring. If a marketer does not have an accurate attribution solution to look at the complete picture, identify which network drove which conversion, and tie the user back to their unique identifier, then the marketer may be getting charged multiple times for only one conversion. That's why we have found it's a best practice for a mobile app marketer to use an accurate attribution solution to attribute one conversion to one user only. By implementing this tool, depending on the kind of budgets being spent, a marketer can save thousands of dollars by identifying which networks send the clicks and which send the conversions, and accurately attribute one user to one conversion only. Let me go and explain how this happens. This is the same scenario we just ran through earlier. In this scenario, network A sees an ad, serves an ad, sees a user click, and then sees a download. Meanwhile, network B sees the user click and download the app as well. Since an attribution solution is able to see the full picture, they see a user click on 2 ads and make 1 conversion. They're able to discern which networks drive which conversions by looking at a user's unique identifier, like Apple's IDFA for example, and accurately attributing the last click that particular IDFA made to the correct network. In this case, the attribution solution would accurately attribute the download to ad network B, and the marketer would only get charged 1 time for 1 download. So, for the marketers attending this webinar, stop wasting money by paying twice for only 1 conversion. By using an accurate attribution solution, you can save thousands of dollars and get a better picture of which networks are actually driving the most downloads and paying users as well. The second pain point we often see in the market is where busy marketers are running on multiple networks and many different traffic sources. Having to go and frequently check several different dashboards wastes valuable time that could be spent other places. We've heard from some clients that they run on over 100 different networks. Now, in that scenario, assuming it takes you about a minute a day to check in on your campaigns and make sure you're getting quality downloads, a user acquisition person could spend 2 hours a day just logging into different dashboards and checking campaign performance. This is lost productivity. Let's look at this example of a marketer who's responsible for running user acquisition. In this example, he's running on only a few different traffic sources. Let's say he's running on ad network A, ad network B, an incentivized network, and also running some Facebook campaigns in the process. Again, while this is only 4 networks, we've heard from marketers that some of them run on over 100 different traffic sources. Having to individually log in and check each different network to see how your campaigns are performing is extremely time-consuming and inefficient. Fortunately, there is a better way. By implementing a single tracking solution with one dashboard that tracks all key performance metrics in one place by campaign source, a marketer can eliminate the time wasted by logging into each different dashboard and having to frequently check all their individual campaign metrics. If you're running on hundreds or even dozens of networks, this can save you hours of time a day. So, let's take a look at the CEO as handling user acquisition for his company, running multiple different campaigns again. Now, instead of having to frequently check multiple campaigns every day, he just has to log into only one attribution analytics dashboard and see all key performance metrics by different campaign source. With everything on one dashboard, you can also easily compare the performance of each network and optimize towards the most effective traffic sources as well, which we will discuss in the third best practice. So, just to recap the second key point here. You can waste hours of your time and as a result, your company's money by having to frequently check multiple dashboards. It is extremely inefficient for the marketer running on hundreds of different traffic sources to go into each individual dashboard and look at campaign performance individually. The solution is to integrate an accurate attribution solution that has a single dashboard and can display all your campaigns effectively in only one place. Now, marketers can track all key performance metrics with only one login. The last point, which we actually hadn't discussed too much, is that by only having one attribution solution tracking all your campaigns in one place, you're able to reduce the number of analytics SDKs to just one. Around the industry, we commonly hear developers and marketers complain about SDK bloat. With so many different types of SDKs being offered today, in-app analytics, attribution analytics, ad network SDKs, monetization SDKs, everybody wants you to drop in their SDK, which can slow down your app considerably. That's why by choosing an attribution solution that has in-app analytics features, like the ability to track users by cohorts and funnels, as well as all attribution and campaign reporting, it's pivotal and can finally help you reduce SDK bloat and speed your app back up. The third and final pain point we see in the market is that marketers are wasting money optimizing their campaigns toward the wrong metrics. Wasting money on the incorrect metrics can cost the company a significant amount of money and absolutely devastate your ROI. Before we dive in too deep here, let's identify the difference between what we have seen from marketers in terms of what the right metrics look like and what the wrong metrics look like. We understand each marketer has different campaign objectives in mind, but in terms of effective user acquisition and driving revenue for a product, this is a good start in terms of metrics. We've seen that optimizing your user acquisition campaigns toward the click is rarely the right approach. While users may click an ad, there could also be a very high abandonment rate from click to install. That's a good metric to know, but a best practice is actually to avoid optimizing a campaign towards a click. Click-through rate is another good metric to know, but is not a metric you want to be optimizing your campaigns toward. While it's important to understand which campaigns have the most effective copy or creative as measured by click-through rate, you may be driving a lot of clicks, but actually very few conversions. This could be the case where a user is slightly enticed by a very promising creative, but not excited by what actually is on the download page or what your app screenshots are. The most common metric that we see marketers optimizing towards is, of course, the download. In many cases, this is not the correct metric to optimize towards. While a download may be a new acquired user for your application, not all users are created equally. Some traffic sources can drive very high volumes of downloads for you, but you can also find that only around a quarter of those users or less will stick around within the application after first or second use. If you only look at performance up to the download, you're missing more than half the picture, and by optimizing towards metrics like downloads, you may be leaving significant revenue on the table. This is why we suggest measuring and optimizing towards the right post-download metrics. These are the metrics that will actually drive revenue for your business, not just vanity metrics like downloads. So again, let's look at what some best practices are around tracking the right metrics. We look at this as everything that happens after the download. Being able to look at revenue and average revenue per user is one of the most important metrics to look at. This way you can see not just number of downloads, but actual dollars being generated from each of those campaign sources. This is pivotal to getting and understanding the complete picture for your app. Also critical is understanding what the lifetime value of your acquired customer is. Many different marketers have a different way to calculate their lifetime value, but in layman's terms, customer lifetime value is how much your average customer will end up spending within your application over their given lifetime. It is a slightly more advanced metric than ARPU, which just takes into account total revenue generated and divides it by total users in your app. A marketer can use an advanced in-app analytics tool like a cohort or a funnel analysis to look at a group of users and understand what their customer lifetime value is. The last metric, and the one most commonly heard by marketers, is ROI, or return on investment. This is the key metric you always want to optimize your campaigns toward. This metric lets you look at not just the revenue generated, but also the cost to generate that revenue. This is important because if you have an acquisition campaign that generates a $5 user for you, for example, but it's actually costing you $6 to acquire that user, you are losing money on each acquired user. This is an unsustainable equation. Let's take a look at an example of how marketers can optimize towards the right post-download metrics by looking at the complete picture. In this example, we have a marketer running on different campaigns: Facebook, an ad network, a mobile DSP or a demand-side platform, and an incentivized network. The marketer is running test campaigns, so they have assigned the same campaign spend across each of the networks, $10,000 each. Each network has different targeting capabilities, like by geo, by behavioral data, or by audience segments or personas, as well as different inventory sources. So they all charge different cost per installs. Based on that cost per install number, we can see how many downloads we're able to get. 5,000 for Facebook, 4,000 for the ad network, only about 3,300 for the mobile DSP, and over 10,000 in the incentivized network. Now, if the marketer is only optimizing based on downloads, they would see that Facebook and the incentivized network were the most successful, driving large volumes of users to the application and would optimize towards those. This seems like good news. Facebook and the incentivized network drove 15,000 downloads for $20,000, and the blended CPI is only $1.50. The marketer can go and share that the campaigns were a huge success and how they were able to generate all these downloads for a cost-effective price. Big win. But this is actually a good example of how not to optimize a campaign unless you have the full picture in mind. In this example, we can see the complete picture, including all post-download metrics. This is one attribution solution dashboard can provide you. All the campaigns in one place, along with key metrics like revenue and average revenue per user of each campaign, letting you determine an ROI and decide which campaigns to allocate additional spend towards. This picture gives us lots of great data to examine. First off, you can see that the incentivized network that we chose to optimize towards, because it had driven 10,000 downloads for a low CPI, actually has a very low ARPU, lower than the CPI, and a negative ROI. This is a great example of how you need to focus on post-download metrics in order to see the complete picture. We also see that the campaign that you ran on the mobile DSP, well, while the downloads may have been more expensive at $3 an install, actually had significantly better post-download performance than any other network. With each $3 you pay for a user, that user will end up generating $3.75 of revenue for you. This means the ROI on the campaign is a positive 25%. The last observation to make here is that while the ad network may have a higher ARPU than the Facebook campaign, it actually has a negative ROI because you're still paying more for a user than you are bringing back in revenue. So, as a result, you would want to optimize towards the Facebook campaign that is generating you a positive return on investment. Instead of optimizing towards the networks that get you the most downloads, like the incentivized network, the marketer would now want to optimize towards the campaigns that have the highest ROI. In this case, Facebook and the mobile DSP. This is a great example of how an attribution solution can show you an accurate picture of your revenue by campaign source in one dashboard and equip marketers with the tools necessary to increase their revenue. A few key takeaways from that example. With attribution solutions, data doesn't stop at the download, so neither should marketers. Marketers should measure and compare post-download metrics like revenue and ARPU by campaign source in order to get a better picture of how campaigns are actually performing. By looking at the complete picture, marketers can maximize ROI by optimizing towards campaigns that generate a higher ARPU than it costs them to acquire a user. We've covered a lot of content today so far, so let's recap what we have. The first key takeaway we had was that marketers should stop wasting money by being double counted by ad networks, and instead should use an accurate attribution solution to assign one conversion to just one user, potentially saving them thousands of dollars. The second key takeaway was that it was extremely time-consuming and inefficient to log into multiple different networks frequently. Some marketers run on over 100 different networks, and it's not sustainable to look at each network individually. Instead, a marketer should save time by using a single attribution solution with one dashboard that can help them evaluate all their campaigns in just one place. Lastly, marketers waste thousands of dollars to optimize their campaigns toward the wrong metrics, like clicks or even downloads. It is pivotal for marketers to get the complete picture on their campaign performance so they're able to optimize campaigns toward revenue and ARPU, and not just which networks drove them the most downloads, for example. So, where does AppStar come into all of this? AppStar is the leading mobile DSP in the space. We're an advertising analytics platform with behavioral user targeting as well as in-app and, yes, marketing attribution analytics. Our marketing attribution analytics platform is trusted by many of the world's leading brands and is able to accurately attribute users to networks. Our behavioral targeting ad platform is powered by rich first-party data on over 550 million unique user profiles, which helps marketers target the right users who will spend money in your application and not just download it. Among many other audience segments, marketers can target based on users with a propensity to make in-app purchases and stay engaged in your application, or we can build a custom audience for you. With the marketer in mind, we focus on acquiring and optimizing towards high ROI mobile audiences, so marketers don't waste money running inefficient campaigns. In terms of a feature comparison, AppStar also has all the key features and benefits that you need to run your mobile app business. This includes the ability to automatically track revenue and ARPU accurately for free. This is a huge differentiator as we have the sophisticated receipt validation mechanisms to ensure the revenue number you see next to your campaign is accurate. Also, with the AppStar in-app analytics suite, you don't just get attribution, but you're given tools to calculate an accurate lifetime value of acquired users by using a cohort analysis. All the metrics that matter on one centralized dashboard, so the marketer can make correct optimizations to maximize their ROI. Finally, you can take all this powerful data and leverage the behavioral ad platform to not just target any users, but the right high ROI users for your app. If this sounds like a solution for you, you can go to www.appstar.com and sign up for free. Thank you everybody for your time. We're just going to take a few minutes here to identify a few key questions. I'll try and respond to those. We're running a little short on time. But if you have any further questions that we're unable to get to, feel free to email me at mike@appstar.com. Thank you very much.